What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Before we hop on with Danilo Djuricic of the Brampton CEBL team, episode 189, it's going to be a banger. First thing, go out and support if you can, if you're a local. Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. This episode will come out after the Wednesday game on the Friday. Then Saturday, Sunday, game two and three, if there's a game three in Winnipeg. Stream it, find it, and support the CBL. We have a powerful episode for you coming up here. Lots of life experience from a guy who's been through a lot of things and is still a young man. Also, we got lots coming your way. Thank you for all your support. It felt weird to not be able to drop one on a bi-weekly for you, but I did have a great time vacationing with my family and getting away from it all for a little bit, just unplugging. But we're hungry. We're back. We appreciate the love and support. We're going to get a merch store in the meantime. If you're looking for hats, find the Hick Hats on Instagram, TheHick hats. We can hook you up all different colorways. We're going to get hoodies, shirts, all that stuff. And the best way that you can support our podcast is just by liking, subscribing, following, streaming on YouTube or any platform that you listen to podcasts, and tell a friend. Be like, yo, this is kind of a dope guy with some good conversations, really easy to listen to. Necessarily don't even have to be a huge basketball head. And that's the way that you can support us. And we really do appreciate all the love. And we're looking forward to dropping episode 189 for you. All right, Carl, three, two, one. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to A Hoops Journey. I'm not going to put my reading glasses on because we're now officially going to be on YouTube, and I can't put myself through that quite yet. But there are a lot of stats on this gentleman, and we have a lot of actually crazy things to talk about between life, between perspective, between how you shift your mindset and are able to overcome things and still believe in yourself, and also all the way down to just weeks ago and days ago, a crazy CEBL season happening for him and his squad. So this gentleman, like we said, is getting ready. This episode will come out on Friday. So he's got game one of the CEBL finals tomorrow. And then on Saturday and Sunday as well. And we would invite you to all support if you're not in the local area, whether in Brampton or in Winnipeg. We would invite you to stream it on. It's great. TSN's picking it up, CBC Sports, CBC Gem. I was actually impressed with how many different platforms there are. So the more views and likes, the more money these guys make, the better the league gets, the more it gets empowered. And that's important stuff. I'm rambling, but listen, one of the best high school players in the class of 2017 decided to choose Harvard of all places. Had a great senior season, some COVID in the mix there, and ended up transferring to Santa Clara, went overseas, life shifted things. And I was reading today, actually, the third appearance in the CEBL finals. And I think you're the only Canadian to do that. You can verify that. Team Canada, FIBA America Cup, U17, U19 World Cups, wrote a children's book, overcome testicular cancer. Holy crap, if we had 4 days, we could do this over a 4-day period. But we have none other than Mr. Danilo Djuricic with us today. How are you, sir?
Aaron, I'm great. Thank you for having me. And I want to just say that was an incredible intro. Thank
I
you
got
for covering pretty much all of it there.
yeah.
Excited to connect with you, chat today, and be on a hoop journey. So appreciate
You
it.
you can fill in the blanks that I missed, man. I did my best. I am off on summer holidays as a high school teacher, but was kind of intrigued by your story and all the things that you've done. But let's go back, man. What a crazy! I just was watching before you hopped on the YouTube video of the notorious fight that took place, which kind of shifted a lot in the CEBL season this year, right?
Mhm.
And as you know, no matter what you do in life, no matter what you choose to do, you always have to be ready and stay ready, and you never know how things are going to shift. So, how have the last couple of weeks been, and then overcoming and just sort of finding your guys back in the finals and doing your thing? So, congratulations to you, to Brampton, to the team, and our guy Al Whitley, right? He's done a great job, but just sort of what a crazy couple of weeks, and you've seen a lot in your hoops journey already. So, where does this stack up?
This is definitely up there. I mean, it's
Mhm.
been a up and down season. There's been a lot of like roster changes. The CEBL is known for that, right? Guys
Hmm.
coming in
Hmm.
and out, and summer league, and just figuring out how people fit in, right? So
Yeah.
it's a short season, but a lot happens within that short season.
Hmm.
I know you mentioned there was some chaos throughout the season in terms of, incidents that happened, but as a team, we've stayed, intensely focused on the goal at hand, and that's been since the start, trying to bring a championship back to Brampton.
Hmm.
We've put ourselves in a position to do that, which is incredible. It shows, our toughness, our grit, the way we've stuck together all season despite the ups and downs. So we put ourselves in an amazing, position to potentially bring home a championship, and we're going to definitely fight to do so.
Hmm.
But like you mentioned, things happen. You always got to stay ready. It's my fifth year as a pro, so I'm no stranger to that.
Hmm.
Regardless of whether or not I play 40 minutes or 0 minutes, I'm going to be locked in and, helping my teammates try and win a championship. So for me, that's what the most important thing, winning. I don't care about the stats or any of that stuff. It's just wins. So I'm excited to get the finals underway tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. And like self-admittedly, being a Vancouver guy, I obviously cheer for and have my eyes on the Bandits more than anyone else. But same thing, man. It was just kind of like, and I've been noticing some of the comments about the CBL and people in whatever. It could just be bots, it could be just random people, but people are starting to talk a little bit more now. It seems like the fan base is growing each year. Like it's trending in the right direction, but sort of just that turnover. How do we avoid it? Can you avoid it? Is it something? Do you put a cap on it? But and just do you have to just flat out say no to a certain guy because you know he's going to get pulled in? But then what if he doesn't? So I don't know if you have any thoughts. I know politically maybe there's not much you can say, but like you said, you're experienced in the league. It's your third finals. You've seen a lot of things, a lot of coming and going. What are some things that you like about the league, and what are some things maybe if you sat back and you were Joe Razzo and on the other end of the microphone, you could say, "Hey, this is what I'd like to see," which I think could elevate it even more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great question. I think the league overall does a great job at providing guys an opportunity to come and play in the summers during off seasons, and
Hmm.
giving opportunity for Canadians to play at home has been great. Something that I think maybe is need to have a focus placed on it is definitely, continuing to provide Canadians opportunities throughout the league in terms of kind of just, roster spots, import sort of things, and, just giving guys opportunities to be at home, developing, competing, having their
Hmm.
stories highlighted. I think is important in a Canadian league to highlight those Canadian guys and continue to give them some spotlight because that will in turn, help with crowds, help with, sales, merchandise, all of that stuff for a team.
Hmm.
So I think that's a big thing that the focus continues, to hopefully be on in future seasons. Other
Hmm.
than that, I know you mentioned a lot of like roster turnover, people upset about it. It's what the league is. It's
Hmm.
been like that for the last 5 years that I've been in it. And I think it is, highly important to consider when planning a roster. Obviously that comes down to the
Sure.
general managers and the front office in terms of who they bring in and knowing what, schedules are going to look like for guys. And obviously that plays, a part of whether or not people are going to be signed to rosters because that's the biggest thing, right? You want someone that's going to be committed the whole summer and there and not kind of everyone's obviously looking to the next opportunity, but there and committed to a full season in the
Hmm.
CEBL, right? So sometimes it's tough and guys may play well, which presents another opportunity to them.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a tough thing to do in the league, and you have to give credit to a lot of the general managers, especially those who have had success throughout the leagues, because you have to account for those things when creating a team, right? So
Yeah.
overall, I've been happy with my experience so far in the league. 5 years now, like I mentioned, four with Scarborough, my first with Brampton. I hope to continue to play many more seasons in the future. So
For sure.
yeah,
Yeah. No, that's well said, man. I love to cough CEBL if you need someone to host the highlighting of the players,
there you go.
there's lots of people willing to do that to help league. But
Yep.
you're right. There are so many platforms, and I think that's why the major leagues in the world get the attention is because people can connect to the players, right? And I've found that too when I go to Bandits games. I'm kind of like, who is this guy? You know what I mean? And you're doing a Google search mid-game on your phone to figure, oh, damn, this guy played at like Idaho State and averaged
Mhm.
20 and then played on the national team or whatever. It's
Right.
like, so any way to do that. Yeah, that's good. Well, awesome, man. Wish you guys good luck. We hope it's a great
Thank you.
series. I mean, I guess from a
Absolutely.
fan standpoint, we hope it goes 3 games. Winnipeg always packs the house, so you got 2 games on the road there, hopefully,
Mhm.
or maybe just one. Wink, wink for you guys. But either way, it should be good. And I just want to go back with you, man. Let's talk about your journey, your story, you as a young guy growing up, and why basketball started to separate itself a little bit for you and become the sport that you wanted to pursue.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, growing up, soccer was my first sport. I had really long hair down past my shoulders. I looked like
Yeah, you
Zlatan
did.
Ibrahimovic.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
You
So
ever bun it up? You ever bun it up?
sometimes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So an assistant coach of mine when I was playing soccer recommended basketball because I was, so tall
Hmm.
compared to, other soccer players. And I started with house league, started to, fall in love with the game, and then ended up going over to rep. I actually started playing with the Brampton Warriors, back in Brampton, obviously, and then over to CIA Bounce. And then while playing with CIA Bounce as my AAU travel team, I ended up going to St. Michael's College School, downtown Toronto. One of the highly regarded academic and athletic schools at the time, when I was coming up. And they were fresh off and off the championship the first year when I ended up getting to school. So, it's a program that was known for its success, and my family wanted the best for my brother and I, both academically and athletically. So it was a perfect kind of place for me to continue my journey. And I actually still was living in Brampton while, attending St. Mike's. So it
That
was
was
a
going to be my question. So yeah, excuse my West Coast ignorance. What's that? Is that a commute? Is that like a resident school? Like what's that
Definitely
commitment? Yeah.
no residence at that time.
Yeah.
It's downtown Toronto, so I had to commute every day from Brampton. So I would actually get a ride from my mom or my dad early in the
Hmm.
morning. I would wake up at 5:45 a.m. Get a ride over to Bramalea for 6:30 in the morning. Take the bus from Bramalea City Center to Yorkdale, which is a major mall close to Toronto, and then from Yorkdale. I would subway 4 stops from Yorkdale to St. Clair West, and overall it would be around a hour and a half commute one way. So, and then I would go through my school day. I played varsity from my first year over at St. Mike's, so we had practice every single day. Then I would get home depending on whether or not we had the early slot or not between
Hmm.
6 and 7:30 each day. So for a young kid that's 13, 14 years old, starting that, I
Yeah.
definitely remember a time in my journey where, I was at home in my bedroom and my mom could visibly tell I was upset. And, her
Hmm.
coming over and talking to me, I started to open up and tell her how I felt. It was, I was doing a lot, I was grinding, but it was tough on me. I was tired. I was, wishing that I could go down the street like some of my friends to basically a local high school that I could walk to. And, my mom kind of just reminded me to trust the process and know that this will all pay off. All this hard work will lead to something special in the future. Um, which, I think it did, right? Like I ended up having opportunities to play with the national team, captain at the youth levels all 3 times I was there. We ended up winning a gold medal in my U19 experience with Team Canada, beat the USA for the first time. And then obviously then offers and stuff started to come in, and I ended up having that amazing opportunity to attend Harvard and graduate and play basketball at the D1 level. So
So
yeah.
you fast tracked about through like, 9 years of your life there.
Yeah, that was a quick kind of
That's
like
a
glimpse of
little
everything.
synopsis. That's my job now. It's my job to reel it back in. Let's go back a little bit. How do you go from being a big footy fan? Obviously, I'm without making assumption, your background, right? Football is a big thing in your household. You said soccer, very North Canadian of you, or North American of you. Well done. But like you talked about being tall. Was it a natural process over to basketball where there was like, maybe someone has a big growth spurt and they're a little bit awkward and you can see, all right, in 2 years' time, this person's going to grow into their body. But it seems like maybe for you, it was a pretty quick progression. And all of a sudden, you're playing all these big teams. You mentioned CAA Bounce, like that's kind of a quick thing to go from that to that.
Yeah.
Were there some mentor coaches or some people along the way that kind of guided you through that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had great coaches throughout my entire journey, but basically the foundation that I had with playing high level soccer, I think it
Hmm.
was great for me to kind of like go into basketball and kind of not have too much of an adjustment period because my feet were pretty good.
Hmm.
And as a tall guy, that's important. Obviously, having foundation of footwork. You
Hmm.
see a lot of young kids who grow super, super tall at one point and are lanky and a little bit uncoordinated. I think playing soccer first definitely helped me with that transition to basketball. And I think, just I guess, foundation of basketball through fundamentals and being a European player, I guess. My dad was huge on fundamentals and he would work with me, outside of practices to make sure that everything was good because, Serbians are crazy and we want everything to be perfect. So,
Yeah.
definitely
See,
had some great,
that's what I was looking for, brother.
there
There
you
you go.
go.
You nailed
There you
that. Well
go.
done. Yeah.
But definitely had some great coaches with
Mm,
Brampton Warriors, Mark Wharton, Lyndon Lowe, Donovan Muir were my first coaches in rep basketball. And then playing with CIA Bounce, I had amazing coaches. And Nikki Davis was probably one of my favorite coaches of all time.
mm.
A long time Sheridan basketball coach. Now he's doing some stuff with some prep schools and AAU stuff in the States, which is cool. But huge basketball minds that I've been able to be around and grow from. And my high school basketball coaches, Jeff Zauner in particular, he was a longtime MAC player, McMaster basketball.
There you
Uh,
go.
Nunzio Corrente and Daniel Lumsden, they were great in terms of obviously helping me in my development as a high school player. I was always tall, and then when I was younger, I started, they saw my height, they put me down kind of around the block area. But I always had some nice touch. So as I was starting to play with, CIA bounce, and then in high school, really started to kind of lean in on my three-point shot and play more on the perimeter.
Hmm.
So credit to my coaches for developing me all in all steps of the journey.
Yeah, for sure. Huge because sometimes coaches can get caught up in the wins and losses as opposed to the development and now
Exactly.
where especially in basketball's taken off so much in our country where it's also become a bit of the Wild West, right? People
Yeah.
are starting to put a lot of emphasis into it and making livings off it, which is okay, but are we still doing it for the right reasons? So that's an important
Exactly.
and great point to make. How do we go about the recruiting process and when do you realize like obviously you got the call early from Canada, so you're like,
Mhm.
damn, I'm actually not bad here. But like when is the goal and the vision of Division One something that you're like, okay, this is actually real? Was it
Yeah.
going on this Team Canada tryouts and being like, hey, I stack up with these guys, or what was it
Yeah,
like?
it's a great question. I mean, earlier in my journey, I think it was seventh, eighth grade, I was part of the Canada basketball was rolling out their junior academy.
Yes, sir.
I was part of the first junior academy kind of group with the 99 and 2000 age group. So, being part of that targeted athlete system was something that was a cool recognition to have, but also a great part of my development as well, being able to play against the nation's best, mostly around
Hmm.
Ontario guys, but starting to be along that kind of process and in that system was great for my development too. But then I think it really struck me when I actually was at St. Mike's. So I was playing with, you know, players that were older than me, Nelson Caputo, Godwin Bowen. There was a bunch of other guys that were around that, were already being recruited at the Division 1 level. And then coming in as a ninth grader, having the opportunity to start and play at a high level with them, I was like, okay, maybe I'm pretty good at this. And then I actually started to receive some interest when I was in ninth grade. And that's when I knew
Okay.
that the D1 kind of level was something that I could potentially have in the future. I had my first
Yeah.
offer in ninth grade from the Niagara Purple Eagles.
There you go.
That was cool. But yeah, it kind of showed me that I'm capable of playing at a really high level. And then, shortly after that, that's when Team Canada came knocking, played U16, U17. So that's grade 10, grade 11. I played in the summers. And then grade 12, I ended up playing, a year up, playing the U19 level.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Damn, a year up. I'm thinking there's a there's a big difference of going in freshman in college and playing against a senior in college, but there's
Mhm.
also a big
Mhm.
difference between being grade nine in high school and playing against grade 12s. What was that
Absolutely.
like? Were the guys very welcoming? Did they give you a hard time? Was it hard knocks? Was it like, yo, this guy's a starter. We might as well just embrace him because we can't mess with him. We need him to help us win. Like, there's
Well, a
I'm
little bit of
thinking
all of
like
that.
I'm thinking 189 in, and I'm like, I don't know anyone that's like we've had Kevin Pangos, Mike
Mhm.
Meeks, like the list goes on and on. Like Silas Swords, no one's really mentioned being in grade nine and being a starter on their high school team. So it's
Right.
an interesting thing to go through. You kind of grow up quick, but also how do you keep that youth part of you as well, right? Because you're still young.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a little bit of all you mentioned. I mean, I definitely was challenged in practices, which obviously led me to step my game up too. But I think there was level of I earned some people's respect, and early on in the season and training camp and all that stuff, and then ending, and going into the actual season itself, playing well, holding my own. But definitely the physicality was something that I had to get used to. I remember, battles against Oakwood, because St. Mike's and Oakwood are a huge downtown Toronto rivalry, and playing against, Brody Clark, who was in 12th grade when I was in ninth grade, and
No way.
him being, the tank that he is back
Yeah.
then, and even now, even though he's not playing anymore, but he was probably the toughest matchup I had. And then also Khalif Young, a good friend of mine and teammate who was at
Hmm.
Vaughan Secondary School. I think he was grade 11 when I was in grade 9, and he's a huge body. So playing against guys like that was definitely, my welcome to varsity basketball moments. But I feel like I held my own, and was able to have great success, in grade 9, earning Defensive Player of the Year at Humber College tournament, and where there was a bunch of different invited schools there, and, making some all-star kind of teams in my grade 9 year. So it was awesome to be a part of, and I also played with some incredible guys. I mean, my first year at St. Mike's, that grade 9 team, or that team when I was in ninth grade,
Mm.
7 guys ended up going D1.
Sheesh.
So Nelson Caputo, St. Bonaventure, you had Godwin Bowen, Illinois, Chicago. You had Amadou Bamba, played at Charlotte in Coastal Carolina. You had Jamal Abbey Wright, ended up playing at Maryland Easter Shore. You had Marcus Carr, Texas, Baylor. He former Bandit as well, right? You have
Former hoops journey guest.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
There you
shout out
go.
Marcus. Yes,
There you
sir.
go. Good friend of mine. And obviously, we spent 2 years at St. Mike's together. Jonathan Kabongo, Virginia Tech. Yeah, bunch of guys. Kobe Lamb ended up being. Oh no, he wasn't there yet. But there was one more, but I'm blanking on it. But a lot of talented guys, and being able to play with guys like that is obviously incredible. Being a freshman in high school.
That's a lot of name drops right there.
Yeah.
Damn. I was typing my ass off
Going
here.
off, going off
Yeah,
memory here.
yeah, yeah. Well, we had Mick Kabongo on too. I've been going back and forth with Jonathan
Yeah.
too, trying to get him as well.
Awesome.
And so tell me this. Obviously, academics were always a thing for you.
Mhm.
Was it deep rooted in the family? Fundamentals academics? Was it you just enjoying school and kind of just found yourself being, gifted and then working on that? Because
Mhm.
Harvard ain't no joke, my friend.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But definitely it stemmed from my parents just preaching
Mm.
that school is number one, and everything else, sports, friends, all that stuff came second. Both my parents didn't finish any level of post-secondary education.
That'll
Um,
do it.
yeah, so I mean they were definitely motivating, my brother and I to be able to, want the best for ourselves, and that, eventually our education will pay off to provide us some better life opportunities. So that was
Hmm.
basically the main thing. And we were both, my brother Milo and I were definitely competitive, both in our sports. He played soccer, actually was drafted in the CPL for Hamilton Forge.
Hmm.
And then, myself with basketball, we were competitive on and off the court, in the classroom, wherever it was. So we would actually compete in terms of our grades too, which was good. But definitely, recognize that importance, because we wanted to make our parents proud, because they sacrificed a lot for us. So,
Yeah. It's funny, man. I was just on the weekend having a chat with a guy and he's struggling with being hard on his son all the time and, and wondering what he can do to be better. And it's kind of like, I think as parents, we just sort of like, a lot of it just comes from fear that we don't F you up. You know what I mean?
right,
Like, and your
right, right.
parents, like, when pressure comes from a good place, but sometimes it's like, yo, I just want to be a teenager. But also you understand. And when you get older, you look back and you go, oh, they were just trying to do it because they wanted me to do well and be better than them. Right. And so,
Right,
yeah,
right.
and you had that. Amazing, man. And then
So it's just
go,
piggybacking on that,
yeah,
Aaron. I mean,
please
I know
do.
you're on summer break as a high school teacher. I
Yeah.
had my first year of teaching high school. I don't know if you know this, but I was a PE teacher my last off season.
No way.
I was, yeah, in
High
between
school?
two CEBL, high school, private school in Oakville.
Yes. How was
And
it?
it was an experience. It was an experience. The kids nowadays are very different. And,
Mm,
being when I grew up, it was okay to kind of like, be on kids, and, make sure that, they were on the right path. Nowadays, some kids receive it, some don't. But, people are doing it because they want the best for them, and they see potential in
mm,
them. And I remember one of my favorite coaches, like I mentioned, Nikki Davis. I remember when I was younger, I have this story that I tell a lot of young kids, that when he first came to CI Bounce, and he was our our head coach, I always felt like he hated me. Like I remember telling my mom, in the car ride home, like Coach Davis is yelling at me a lot. Like, Mom, I don't think he likes me. And I remember vividly after I committed to Harvard, I had all the coaches and mentors that I had, play a huge part in my journey, come over to my house for dinner, and my parents hosted it. It was really nice and got to kind of reconnect and also, go back on different experiences and memories. And I remember Nicky Davis's thing. I asked him about, or I told him about, that story I just told you. And he said, as a coach, he's had experiences with players that he would yell at. It's because he sees high potential in them. But the worst thing that you could do is have a coach not actually care about even trying to, get you better anymore. And you should want, coaches to yell at you because that means they truly do care. They truly do see the potential in you. Once they start, not even talking to you anymore, there's a huge problem there. So that was something that obviously to me it was encouraging to hear. Obviously, a lot of years down the line, and I knew Coach Nicky Davis is a great coach. He's coached some amazing players throughout the CIA bounce kind of pipeline, but as a young kid, you don't really, realize when, people are hard on you, when parents are hard on you, teachers are hard on you, that they actually care and they want the best for you, right? So when you
For
put that
sure.
into perspective later on in life, you actually do appreciate the people that wanted to push you and get the best out of you, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I think we're in a weird space right now where being a high school coach and teacher too is kind of like I don't disagree with there's a swing and sort of like do you need to yell as a coach and like I get out there when I coach, you know what I mean? But like I
Mhm.
think it
Absolutely.
depends there. I think there's levels to it, right? I think like if I just go out and yell every day all day, the kids are just going to go la la la, they're just going to
Mhm.
tune you out. Whereas if you kind of pick your spots and have your moments, or if and I think and you'll and if you continue to teach and stuff, it's about connection, right? So if you want to, you
Absolutely.
can't just walk in into the classroom or into practice in the second week and be like, do this, do that. You have to ask the kids who they are, get to know them a little bit, high five them to start
Yeah.
practice. How you doing?
Yeah.
Especially in today's age, which you touched on a little bit, they seek that connection more. Whereas I think my generation, I'm obviously older than you, I'm an old head, but like it was kind of like shut up and do what you're told, which there's
Mhm.
goods of that, but there's also a lot that's like, is that healthy? You know what I
Right.
mean? So trying to find that
100%.
blend and that balance and you mentioning that and looking back on your coach is what it's all about for me, I think. Like wins and losses are great, but if you can have a couple people that sort of show that they cared for you in their way and helped
Goes a
you
long way.
grow, that's really what it's all about, you know?
100%. Totally
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you.
And then you step onto the court at Harvard, man. What's that like? Huge reputation, obviously, Division One
Mhm.
basketball.
Mhm.
Those first few weeks on campus, what's that like? And also, just you never touched on a little bit like why Harvard? Was there anybody that was close? Was there a close second other than Niagara, the first one?
I actually had three visits set up. I
Okay,
had Harvard was my first one, and then I was going to go to Grand Canyon University, coached by
okay,
Dan Marley at the time.
yeah,
And
no
then
way,
yeah,
Thunder.
Thunder. He
Now,
actually
is
gave
that
me
why?
my
Is that what drew you, or was it academic?
100%.
Yeah, okay,
100%. It
yeah,
was Dan Marley as the head coach over there. He gave me one of my favorite basketball compliments I've ever received. It was at UIBL session. He came up to me when he had offered me and said that he was reminded of himself 20 years ago when watching me play. So, for me as a guy who never really got a chance to maybe watch him live, but seeing, clips of Michael Jordan being guarded by him and the intensity that he had and the game that he had, and obviously being tasked with guarding someone like Michael Jordan,
hmm
obviously to me that was like it was like a starstruck sort of, compliment to receive. So that always stuck with me. And, I appreciated obviously his recruiting efforts, but
Was he still
he,
fit?
pardon?
Was he still fit?
He was jacked.
Yeah, he was. He was.
That, he looks like he just lives in the weight room.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
great guy. Ended up coming down to, my uncle played football at Boston College. My family was familiar with the Boston area. My parents wanted me to go to the Ivy League. I had Princeton, kind of scheduled as I mentioned, but
Just a
my
casual Princeton name drop, no big deal.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But my parents, yeah, they wanted me to go somewhere where, I was thinking of a home for the next 40 years, not for the 4 years that would actually be there. And
Mm,
that's what led me to start the organization and kind of like company that I had founded, the 40-year plan.
hmm
Trying to set myself up for life after basketball, and just set me up for life with great connections and great opportunities. So that ended up being Harvard.
So you were thinking about that 40-year plan when you were like 18?
Yes, yeah. I
Okay,
always
so
try
you
to.
operate different, man. I was just trying to like grow armpit hair and have a girl actually respond to me, man. This guy's thinking about what's he gonna do when he's 40. Respect to you, King. Yeah.
Well, not necessarily,
Sure.
concrete plans, but like
Yeah.
thinking ahead in terms of, are my decisions going to help or hinder my future self, right? Like,
Hmm.
and I think Harvard was the best opportunity for me to set myself up for life after basketball and hopefully have some amazing opportunities still to come because of my decision to go there. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
then your time there. So did you end up with an education degree then? Is that or did you go back or did you do something different? And yeah.
No, I actually ended up with a economics degree, minor in
Okay.
sociology.
Okay.
Harvard was, I wouldn't change that decision for the world because of,
Yeah.
the friends, the networking, connections, and
Oh, I
experience
bet.
all that I had while I was there,
I bet the
just
people that you meet, it's just like,
everyone had their own unique story or
yeah,
had some incredible connection to someone else.
yeah.
Just an incredible, just plate of people to be around, and I totally I loved it. My
Hmm.
basketball career. I wish there was maybe a little bit more opportunity, like everyone does. But Coach Amaker was a great coach. He brought in a top 10 recruiting class prior to my class. So, and that's in the country. So we had a great team weren't able to necessarily get it done and play in the tournament. Just, the Ivy League is interesting with its, hosted kind of city or school, because every other conference, most conferences do neutral sites, right? So I
Hmm.
feel like
Yeah.
that played into it a little bit in the first 2 years that I was there. And then third and fourth year were cut short due to COVID, which sucked. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely an amazing experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything else. I would have made the same decision to go there again just because of, how incredible of an experience it was.
So
So,
we'll keep going with the journey, but then how did the teaching thing come along? Now I'm just
yeah,
intrigued in
yeah,
that part.
sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's okay.
just in terms of I ended up having an economics degree and then a minor in sociology, but some private schools hire
Sure.
people,
I teach at
without
a
teaching
private school.
degrees, which is cool.
Yeah.
Exactly. So right?
Yeah.
So I just feel like I had a good coaching background. I coached and mentor young kids and that kind
Yeah.
of translated to a PE role. And I felt it would be a good opportunity for me to, one, be around the youth, which I enjoy, being able to impact and inspire. But then number two, obviously being able to stay in shape, for a CEBL season by using the facilities. The
Yep.
AD at the school I was teaching at, Eric Bultice, former pro, he played at Redeemer,
Okay.
was like number one in scoring in all of Canada. He's amazing, a great player. But more so for me, better person. He ended up being introduced to me by a former Harvard teammate of mine, Luca Sakota, also from Etobicoke, and he went to the school that I taught at, King's Christian Collegiate. And that kind of led me to connect with Eric, and the opportunity came about because we work out together every single day the past 3 years. I
Hmm.
would work out with him and his sons, and that's what kept me in shape. So when a PE role opened up, I applied and ended up getting it, and it was a great kind of off-season kind of it fit perfectly. CEBL season, school year, CEBL season. So that's where I was at.
That's dope, man. You could
Yeah.
see the Harvard brain right there. He double dip and he's like, wait, I can coach, teach, get paid, and still lift and shoot and run up and down
There
with
you
the
go.
kids and get by. Man, this guy's like,
Good setup.
yeah, exactly. I love it. And then you were touching on something that is very near and dear to me, something that I try to teach the kids. I teach a leadership class in my high school. And
Awesome.
for the listeners that are out there that will listen to every single episode, they'll be barfing in their cars because I mention it whenever it comes up. You've touched on so many times. It's really about relationships, right?
Absolutely.
Your
Absolutely.
networking and your relationships. So, some coaches looking out for you, then you get to Harvard where it's like everybody's got a story. And if you're not willing to listen to those stories and connect with those people, then those aren't relationships where you're like, hey, remember me, grad of whatever? And we
Yeah.
had that talk the other day. Want to go for a coffee? We can talk about that website or whatever that design we had. And then,
Mhm. Mhm.
the connections, you're like a friend of a friend. I know the AD because of my former teammate and I wasn't an asshole to that guy. And so he's willing to
Right.
put my name on the line. So I think you've touched on that. And it seems like that's a theme for you throughout your life all the way up to this point. If I'm not jumping too far ahead, am I correct in my assessment?
No, you're totally correct. I mean, the biggest thing for me in terms of what, I've experienced is people make, every experience better. So
Mm,
every time I'm in front of someone, I try to leave a great reputation. I try to be kind, doesn't matter who it is, what
Mhm.
position you have. Like for me, my parents growing up always, instilled in me the virtue of being grateful and thankful for what is given to me. So it doesn't matter if it's, a janitor of an organization or the CEO, I treat people the exact same way. And I feel like that's important for networking. I'm sure, you preach
Mhm.
that through your leadership class, right?
Mhm.
Like networking and relationships are everything. When it
Mhm.
comes to jobs, when it comes to social life, when it comes to anything in life. So,
Mhm.
definitely important and definitely something I'm very sure I key in on. So,
For sure. And then with that too, in the hoops world, like you mentioned, the ups and downs, and depending on how a coach sees you or a GM sees you and
mhm.
what your role is and who they bring in. One minute you could play 25 minutes one night, and then next night it might be, hey, wave your towel and cheer on your teammates. And when you get to the pro level, you kind of see you can see it all, right? You can see the guys that are willing to sacrifice and do what they can and play their role for their team. And then there's some that are a little bit more me. And I think all those life experiences that you've been through and what that thing is varsity, right?
Absolutely.
Basketball adversity, maybe a little bit different than cancer adversity, but through those things, you're kind of practicing building up a little bit of a base to be prepared for that adversity when you move into your adult life, no matter what happens in that life. So you finish at Harvard, couple rough COVID years, transfer over. When is pro ball kind of swirling around in your brain thinking, I'd like to keep doing this thing?
Yeah, it was definitely my kind of goal actually before I was even at Harvard. Like I wanted to obviously go get one of the best degrees in the world and then
Hmm.
go to the NBA. That was my number one
Yeah.
goal from when I was young and obviously throughout college. Didn't end up happening, but the shift in what kind of didn't necessarily deter me from trying to play in the NBA, but like
Mhm.
trying to focus on more things outside of basketball was one, COVID stripped me of a season because then I had to
Rough.
compete, outside of the court for a whole year. The Ivy League was one of the one league. It was the only league in the entire NCAA that didn't, or a conference that didn't have a season.
Mm.
So I had to
Oh,
compete in
damn,
the
I didn't know
classroom.
that.
Yeah, one
Wow.
of all the leagues. So 8 teams out of 365 were sitting at home on the couch, and I was one of them. So
Wow.
that sucked. Definitely competed in the classroom. It was my best overall kind of 2 semesters. But then I started to focus on like how can I, work for or prepare for life after sport because again, you look like this was a prime example. It can be taken away from you for reasons out of your control, which I then
Hmm.
experienced later on. Being
For sure.
diagnosed with testicular cancer. So in a way, I was prepared for, every kind of step of my life, trying to just be one step ahead and prepare for things when, you're in it because you never know what can
Hmm.
happen. And, it kind of actually opened a lot of doors for me being, experiencing COVID, right? Starting to prepare for life after sport. I built a LinkedIn. I started to network. I started to look at different opportunities in terms of, occupations for after basketball. I actually started to put a lot of more focus outside of basketball,
Mm.
which to me was important, right? Because that was the entire reason why I ended up going to Harvard. I wanted to, be set up for life after, but I didn't necessarily know what I was going to do. Like my whole
Hmm.
thing was, okay, I'm going to have my Harvard degree in my back pocket. I'm going to play in the NBA. But things don't always happen as you plan it. So that's why it's important to have backup plans, right? So
Hmm.
it taught me a lot, and it definitely, obviously, kind of prepared me to do things while I've been a pro, and that's what I've been kind of focused on. So I actually ended up transferring to Santa Clara after my 4 years at Harvard. I actually hadn't played organized basketball since March of 2020, right? Because that's when COVID
Hmm.
hit. And then I transferred to Santa Clara. I ended up going through summer workouts. There were some things going on, within my family and, stuff that I wanted to, I had to make a decision to basically leave and start my pro career early.
Hmm.
So I had actually went to Montenegro to my dad's living there to train and kind of see if I can hop on a team over there. I was trying to get a passport. Then ended up working out over there. Ended up coming back to Canada again, staying patient and staying ready. And then an opportunity to play in the Czech Republic opened up in January. So between my last college game and my first pro game was 22 months
Wow.
of grinding, waiting, and just staying ready. So it was a lot of patience required, although it was tough at times, but definitely just a lot of belief in knowing that, I wanted to play pro basketball. I was going to do that. I was going to continue to work and kind of keep my head down and grind, and that the opportunity would present itself.
Yeah. And you're making me think of I saw you were on Warren Ward's podcast. We had him on as well, and he
Awesome.
said something kind of profound when I was talking with him, right? Because he obviously had his ups and downs and started
Mhm.
his show for his reasons. And I was mentioning how I was stepping away from coaching for a little bit. We have a 9-year-old who's
Mm,
adopted, and like it took us a long time to
nice.
become a family. We had multiple miscarriages, and sort of I was talking
Wow.
about how stepping away from coaching was going to be weird because basketball was my whole life. I played all the way to Brandon University, and then like
Right.
as soon as I got my degree, I've been coaching, and he was like, "But you're not just basketball." I was like, yeah, I know. No, he's like, no, but you're a father, you're an uncle, you're a husband. And he started naming all the things, right? And
Mhm.
I started to get like the hair on my arm stand up. And
Yeah.
you kind of experienced this mentally and went through this, I think, what somebody my age now does at
Mm.
48, right? Like you were already thinking, I'm not packing it in as a pro, but I
Mhm.
know this doesn't define everything of who I am. And at some point, it could be an injury, right?
Right.
It could be a bad circumstance, could just
Mhm.
be teams don't want to sign me, whatever. Then what?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I think it's an interesting point for a lot of us to just continue to like be present, but also sort of continue to think forward as well. If what I'm saying makes
Absolutely.
sense.
100% it does. I mean, a former St. Mike's alum, Leo Routens. I'm sure a lot of people know Leo.
Pat him on the
Um,
pod.
yeah, there you go. See, I'm
Yeah,
naming
man.
a bunch of people. This is
Yeah,
a good
you are.
connection
You're
here.
Melka. Yeah, buddy.
But like we mentioned, right? Connections and networking, like basketball is such a small world. So look how
Hmm.
many names were already mentioned, and you've already had them on as people, as guests, right? But Leo
Hmm.
Rounds always said, "You bounce the ball, don't let the ball bounce you," right? And that's something that stuck with me in terms of trying to take advantage of the game and not have the game be my entire life, right? Like there's people you meet through basketball, there's opportunities that can present itself through basketball. I've traveled and seen so many parts of the world and experienced so many different cultures because of the game. So that's one thing that I kind of like remember. And then my parents, my dad specifically always said, at someday the ball will stop bouncing. He would say that in a Serbian accent, that's really
Yeah.
strong Serbian accent.
Yeah.
But it's true, right? Like you mentioned, injuries, falling out of love with the game, no other further opportunity presents itself, whether, I'm not good enough or a coach doesn't want to play me, whatever, right? Like you always got to be prepared. You never know what can happen. So that's kind of, my mindset in terms of preparing for life after sport while still in it, because as a pro, honestly, there's a lot of time in the day. You
Mm.
practice, you can't practice for 24 hours straight. What are you going to do in
Mm.
your spare time,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So that's kind of what led me to start my company, the 40-year plan, while I was playing in the Czech Republic.
Yeah, let's
'Cause
talk about that a little more. Yeah,
yeah,
expand on that. Yeah.
yeah, so I started playing professionally in the Czech Republic, and then I started to realize how much spare time I had. I was playing video games so much during the day that,
What
I
was
had
the
to
go? What was the go-to game?
Fortnite with some
Yeah,
friends
okay,
actually.
okay. So Fortnite
Yeah,
was hot. Yeah,
a
yeah.
100%. And I was actually a way I stayed connected with a lot of my friends. It kept me sane while I was
I
overseas and
thought you were
alone.
gonna say I was actually really nice at it, and that's why I kept playing. That's
Well,
what I
that
thought.
too,
Yeah,
maybe. I don't
yeah.
know.
That's
But
actually true, though. I never really thought of that element of like, hey, fellas, let's hop online and we can hear their voices and whatever. Yeah, I mean,
because
yeah,
most of my
that's
friends were in the States, right?
right.
Because of the fact that I went to school over there, and I
I'm just
actually had.
picturing OG Nintendo. That's my world, dog. So,
There you go.
maybe PS1. That's about it.
Was there online for that? I don't know.
No, no, no,
Uh,
no, not yet. Actually, I have a PS3.
Okay, there you
Played a
go.
lot of Tiger Woods golf, but yeah, yeah, yeah. Fortnite. Yeah.
But yeah, video games is the way I used to stay connected with a lot of my friends. So that obviously helped me, but I knew I could only play for so long in a day before it stopped being productive. And you know, playing overseas where there's a language barrier, there's a time difference, there's a lot of time where I'm spent, just on my own. So I wanted to see how I could upskill and, start to prepare for life after sport because that was a passion of mine. And that's why I just had the idea to just start, my own kind of organization that tries to mentor young student athletes or young people in general. And, that's grown throughout the years now to like basketball training camps. I'm going to start some youth programming come September. I launched my first children's book, this past summer. So there's a lot of different brands and strings that I want to, continue to develop. But the 40-year plan is my like umbrella company. And I'm working on an NIL agency because I want to, represent student athletes and help them along their journeys because I represent myself as a pro. And I've learned a lot throughout that journey too. And yeah, I just have a lot of things that I've been working on, but I'm doing that while still playing, and
Hmm.
because I have so much time after practices. I take care of my body and do a lot of other things that pros do, but you still have a lot of time left over if you're efficient. And, shout out to St. Mike's and to Harvard because obviously I had to be very particular with how I use my time and being efficient with it. So I've gotten some good practice with that, and now I'm just applying it to my everyday as a professional basketball player.
That's great. Yeah, no, and I think it is one of the things, right? You go to a different country and sometimes, you're in the Czech Republic, which I'm naive to it, but has a reputation of being fairly nice. Sometimes
Mhm.
you can go to these places and they're not really that nice and
Exactly.
they're really cold and, and what are you going to do during those hours is fantastic.
Right.
Um, so the goal and the vision would be what's the 40-year plan? When you say that, what does that mean? What does that umbrella mean to someone that would look into what you're trying to do?
Yeah, no,
I know though
that's
it's a straightforward saying, but for you, how do
mhm.
you define that?
So I have like my motto, I guess, is your older self is counting on you. So
Mm.
throughout all of my strands, right, whatever it is, whether it's, picking the right agent, whether it's, being coached by the right person, whether that's mentorship from the right person, all the things that you're going to be, partaking in through the 40-year plan is going to help set up your future self. Um, and, I found that quote. I don't necessarily know who it's from, but I just loved it because, it applies to everything in life. What you're eating, on a day-to-day basis, is that going to help or hinder your future self?
Hmm.
The decisions you're going to make, is this going to get you in trouble? That's going to, reflect on, your record in the future, or are you going to maybe stay away from that stuff? So, your older self is counting on you is something that I apply to the 40-year plan because of, all the programs and all the different things that I have are going to help people for, 40 years and beyond in their life for their older self.
Amazing, man.
Thank you.
And then what does the future hold for you basketball wise? You're just gonna keep going season to season, see how it goes, keep doing your thing. I mean, you're still young, so
Mhm.
I mean, it is kind of cool though. Like when we talk in this way, I think a lot of people can take away what your perspective is and think it's the same. You're making me think too already. I'm at 48. Like it's been something I've been going through as well. I just lost a pretty close colleague a few weeks ago. He's 54.
Oh,
Kind of,
sorry.
yeah, thanks. But just sort of that's really shifted my mind too, and sort of like, are you doing the things that are going to help your future, and how do you continue to like grow? It's and I'm a firm believer of being present and enjoying the moment, but also sort of like stepping out of that comfort zone like you're doing and expanding things and trying different things. Podcasting is not lucrative unless you're Joe Rogan, you know what I mean? Or
Right, right, right.
unless Skechers Canada wants to hop on board and throw me a few bucks or whatever, right?
There
But
we go.
it's
Work
like
on that.
yeah, and so kind of, I've been swirling around in my mind kind of, hey, maybe I can do some public speaking and talk about, being adoptive father, coach, teacher, like is there some things there and sort of but I think it's hard. I think it's hard for someone as you get even older to see yourself like that, and for you to experiment in your younger years
Mhm.
will just make it that much better. And so kudos to you for looking out for the youth as well, man. It seems like you
Yeah,
really
thank
enjoy
you.
spending time and connecting with them, and I think that's really, really dope what you're trying to do.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that a ton. I mean, I know you're doing the same with, being a teacher and a coach, it's not always easy, but, obviously the impact that, you have that hopefully I have and other people have on the youth is something that helps us, they're the future, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Want them to, take over the reins and then eventually pass it down to their younger generations. So that's what it's all about, right? But, like you mentioned, in terms of, just starting things, I think the hardest part is the start, and people sometimes run into a wall and can't get past that. But all you got to do is start things. And, hopefully as you continue to grind away and keep chipping away, like good things will happen. So a lot of the
Hmm.
stuff that I've kind of started, maybe it hasn't taken off, maybe it never will, but I'm still going to work towards it and see what can come of it, right? Because, it's something I'm passionate about. And I think, when passion is involved, there's beautiful things that can happen. So, beyond, well, talking about basketball, I think, I'll definitely plan on playing as long as people are willing to have me. I'm going to stay in shape. I'm going to be ready to play every single summer. I think my
Hmm.
plan is just to play in the CEBLs going forward. I don't want to go overseas because this is a long time away from, all the other stuff that I'm building.
Yeah.
The last 3 years, I've kind of just stayed ready throughout the year and gone and played the CEBL season, and I've been ready at each start of the summer. So although it's a long off season for me, I've still made it a focus of mine to be ready for that CEBL season. So like I said, yeah, I'll be ready to play every year until someone doesn't want to sign me. That's kind of my
Love it, man. That's great. Um, Now, before we have a few kind of fun questions for you and
Mhm.
find out what your favorite hoop shoe is, I think we already know what's going to be said. But when you look back, and obviously, this is what you're going to be hopefully doing, and I agree with what you're saying. Actually, it's popped in my head. That's my brain going off and on. I love the point about sort of when I first started this podcast, right? Where we started during COVID, right? It
Mhm.
was like I always wanted to be like Tim McAuliffe or be like a color guy or play by play, and so I was like, you know what, why not? And then I got like obsessed with always worrying about like downloads. And then I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm doing something that fills my bucket, like just having a
Yeah,
conversation with you. And
right.
now, whether you like it or not, I have your number. You know what I mean? But like, hey, Aaron, we're coming out
Yeah,
west. Can we run a camp? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
dope, let's do it. Let's do something for the youth or
100%.
whatever. Right. And so like the amount of stuff that I've learned about me and then other people just by doing this and not
Yeah,
worrying about how many people are liking, downloading, subscribing. It does help, just for the record.
absolutely.
But and sort of like just that
Make
learning
sure you do.
experience.
Yeah,
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 exactly. But like I totally agree with what you're touching on is like I don't really care. I'm just going for it. I'm passionate about it. So who cares what anybody else thinks? And I think that's a huge thing that the youth could really learn
yeah.
in today's generation, you know?
Absolutely. I totally agree with you because, nowadays things can get viral or be passed around so easy, right? So if
Hmm.
you're passionate
Hmm.
about something, it might not take, might not be instant, right? But
Hmm.
if you keep chipping away and it's something you're passionate about, and hopefully you start to keep getting better and better and better in, the world will slowly take notice. So
Yeah,
that's the way I at least look at things. And, some might take longer than others, but it's possible, right? So as
love
long as
it.
you're doing things you love, good things will happen.
Love it, man. All right, you ready?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna remix today because this has been
Okay.
really good. I enjoy this conversation a lot.
Awesome.
Who's on it? Who's out there? Who's a homie? Who's someone you could recommend for the pod? Because this is like we talked about relationships and connections. Like someone is awkward. Do I hit pause? Do I say pause? Someone slid in my DMs and was like, recommended you, right? And
Yeah,
Josh,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
without those connections and people that I know a little bit and trust saying, "Hey, I know Steve Mega. I think you'd enjoy having these guys on." Da 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 da.
Mhm.
Right? So who do you think's out there that would be enjoy just hopping on and chopping it up with me? Um, but make
I
sure they're up
think
for it, bro. Make sure they're up for
Yeah, yeah, no,
it.
100%. I think, you mentioned John Kabongo. I'll send him a message and make sure that he connects with you because that would be
Yeah.
a great person who's had an
We can
incredible basketball journey and then
We can
having
spit bars. We can spit raps back and
there you
forth,
go.
man. Yeah,
There
no,
you
I'm just
go. A
kidding.
lot.
He'd probably mop me, but
But a lot that could be covered in a podcast episode
hmm.
because he's had to pivot so much throughout his
Mm.
journey, right? So,
I feel like when I was trying to reach out with him, and it's also like it's hard because it's a respectful thing. I don't want to
right,
hound people, if they leave.
right,
He
right.
didn't leave me on red, but he was just like, "Yo, I have a lot going on," and I was like,
Yeah,
"Respect."
yeah.
Like no worries, man. Life happens. So
But I'll send him a
yeah,
message. I'm gonna
yeah,
see what his interest would be like. That's
yeah.
one. I don't know if you've had Khalif Young on your pod.
No,
Really good friend of mine,
yeah,
has had an incredible pro career so far.
yeah,
He actually just got married, had a kid, so he's, obviously experiencing fatherhood and being a
yeah.
husband, which is awesome. I'm so happy for him. But he'd be someone, had played for the national team, played professionally, grew up in Toronto. Be a good guy to have, on the pod. So I'll send him a message. I'm gonna recommend him as well.
Dope. Love it. You got the best seat in the house. Maybe it's a venue you've been to before, or maybe it's a venue that you've always wanted to go to. What concert you want to see? The artists could be dead or alive. You could have seen
Mm.
them already, so it could be a repeat. You're taking wifey, you're taking the fellas. I don't know. It's your world.
Yeah.
We're just living in it. What you got?
Oh man, I'm gonna give a shout out to my favorite artist. I've seen him before a number of times, but Drake would have to be Drake. It's always a good time. I love his music.
So
Um,
Ontario, man.
I know,
Just
I know.
playing. Yeah,
Very
yeah,
basic
yeah,
answer, but
yeah.
I definitely I'm just gonna be honest and say it would have to be Drake
Okay.
for sure.
What's in the headphones while you're warming up, shooting around before like warm up? So your first time you step out, kind of that pregame. Yeah. What do you got? Does it depend on the vibe and your mood for the day, or is it pretty routine?
That's a great question. I think it depends on my vibe and the mood for the day.
Mm, mm-hmm.
My future wife, she's my fiance now, Jordan,
Yeah.
she's put me on country music. So that
Oh,
was something
say it ain't so.
I was never on
Yeah.
before. But when I had met her over 2 years ago, I didn't like country music. Now I love it. So country's in there.
Have you got
Definitely.
into Chris Stapleton?
Yes, of course, of
Yeah,
course.
some friends are just when they're trying to sell me on them, I'm like, "Yep, maybe that's where I'll start with country, but okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's a great vibe. She's from Western New York, so very
Okay.
small town, and
Yeah.
it's definitely that type of vibe. So
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. But yeah, it depends on the mood, depends on the
Yeah.
vibe. I usually don't come out with headphones. It's not really part of my game day
Yeah.
routine. So like the
Yeah.
speaker or the sound system's playing, and it's
Yeah.
usually hip hop and obviously R&B or whatever it is, and it's
Yeah.
some stuff I listen to. So
This guy's like he's like an old head already. I love it.
yeah,
He's
yeah, I
old soul,
know.
old
I
soul.
am an old soul,
Yeah.
actually. Everyone
Yeah.
says that. So.
So they're never letting you take the aux at practice. They're never like,
I might throw a curveball out there and
yeah.
play some Serbian music if they give me
There
the
you go.
opportunity.
Culture.
Right.
Okay, so you are in the off season, maybe you're still training, but you want to go, maybe it's movie night at home and you feeling like a bag of chips. What bag of chips are we grabbing? Do we have any
Fun.
favorites?
Have you heard of Funyuns?
Have I heard of Funyuns? You think I got this body saying no to Funyuns, bro?
Definitely Funyuns though. So they're amazing. I'll go with Funyuns for sure.
Okay, I'm trying to think.
What's your pick?
Hang on, 189. I don't know if anyone's now that you say that, I don't think anyone's referenced Funyuns, and Funyuns are fire.
Let's go. That's good.
Gunsmoke.
Unique there for sure.
Yes. I mean, anything ketchup. I like ketchup.
Okay.
I'll do an all dressed.
Nice. All
You,
dressed is great too. Yeah.
yeah. I'm starting to notice though, man. As I get older, man, like I have some chips, and like the next day is rough, man. They're just not.
Really?
Well, I'm just old. But my neighbor, he calls it salad. So like, if hockey or hoops game, he's like, I'll bring some salad over, and he'll have like three different bags of chips that we'll all try or
Oh,
whatever.
that's
And
awesome.
now they've got all these. You go to the certain stores, they've got these world of flavors, right? So it's like
Yeah.
you can try some wild ones. But if I'm
True.
going OG. Man, Funyuns, great call. Who cares about me? That's just a great pull. Well
There we
done.
go.
My
Love it.
son loves them too, actually.
Perfect. There we go.
Yeah,
So good call there on that front.
yeah,
There we
hell
go.
yeah. Well done. Did you have a favorite hoop shoe as a player?
I have now the Skechers full court press.
Uh-huh.
I know I'm signed with Skechers, and you might think that I'm obligated to say that. Genuinely the
Yeah,
most comfortable, um, like stable shoes that I can put force in. They literally remind me a lot of the shoes that I wore growing up. I
yeah,
was a big Nike guy growing up, but
yeah.
Skechers, just like the comfort to me is unmatched. I tore my plantar fascia 2 summers
Okay.
ago.
Yeah,
Now that type of pain, like in a foot, was something that,
doesn't
even
feel good.
walking was,
Oh,
yeah, it was probably the worst kind of feeling. So I just honestly sought out shoes that had a ton of comfort. And when I
hmm
knew that Skechers, I had some basketball shoes, and I ended up coming into contact with some people over there. It was a no-brainer for me to, represent them. And I honestly, even if they don't decide to keep having me back as an ambassador or a player, I'll continue to wear them. That's how much I love them. So
Wow.
definitely the any of the Skechers basketball shoes, but the full court press for me is similar to like a Kobe for those who are
Mm,
Nike people.
mm,
But the comfort's unmatched. So,
mm. I'm dealing with some serious like Achilles heel issues these days,
ooh,
so I'm getting the prolotherapy in there. It's,
okay,
it's
yeah,
rough.
you
So
have
I
to,
definitely need. I have certain pairs of shoes I put on, and my whole heel goes on fire, and I'm like,
yeah,
damn, I can't. I don't know if I can wear these ever again.
yeah. I mean, and
What?
comfort's number one, right?
Yeah,
So,
what pro hooper signed? Isn't there someone who just signed recently with Skechers? Pretty big name. I swear.
They have a bunch of NBA
Yeah.
guys. Joel Embiid. They
Yeah.
have Norman Powell, OG
Yeah.
Anunoby, Josh Green, Julius Randle, Terrence Mann, bunch of guys.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then they
You
have
named them
me,
all.
you know?
Isaiah. And
So,
you,
yeah, yeah. So
Isaiah Hardenstein. Yeah.
Hartenstein's with them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh,
Good
damn.
call.
These low key look kind of fire. Sorry. I turned
Yeah.
you off the screen for a sec. No,
No,
okay. I
no, don't
like it,
worry.
man. There you go.
Yeah, they got some heat, man. I'm
Cool.
telling you, people sleep
Hmm.
on it, but
Yeah.
Skechers actually has some good heat. So
Listen, dude, people are rocking Hokas like they're Jordans. So who cares if you're
exactly,
rocking Skechers anymore? You know what I mean? We're past
exactly,
that. There's no more,
exactly.
there's no more what are those videos? It's like
100%.
comfort over everything, dog. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, love it. Um, let's say you could have like a nice coffee, a glass of red wine, whatever your choice is, with a couple historical figures, like a good conversation, open, candid conversation, not an interview. Who's out there? People you'd like. They could be hoopers. They could be people you've read about. Yeah, who you
That's
got?
yeah, that's a great question. I think
Mm.
I would go Nikola Tesla, number one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Serbian heritage. A lot there with the creation of electricity and how people think it's Edison and
Yep.
or it's Tesla, right? Like,
Yep.
well, an incredible mind as an inventor who's done a lot of things with science and,
For sure.
definitely someone I would want to sit down with, pick his brain. He's known to be a little bit of a socially awkward guy, but
Yeah.
definitely someone that would be interesting to connect
Even
with.
better, man. You got to tap into those social skills, right? See what you cheat.
Exactly.
Those are the best episodes for me when someone starts talking. I'm like, okay, time to go into the bag here. Like he wasn't socially
100%.
awkward. Josh was really quiet.
Yeah,
So
he
like
is a
trying,
quiet guy.
so
You have
like
to
just trying to
pull
get, yeah,
until he
yeah,
opens up. You got to pull out a little
yeah.
thing, but then he'll
Which I
start to open up and be cool with you. So,
totally, which I
yeah,
get in
great
like a
dude.
locker room so much easier. It's like meeting some
Mm,
dude on Zoom and being like, hey, open up and tell me about your basketball career. I get that. It's not for
right,
everyone, right? So it's kind of
right.
like those are the fun ones to kind of dig into your bag. Yeah. Okay.
100%. And then I
All
wanted to
right.
mention too that
Yep.
my
Of
dog's
course.
named after Nikola Tesla. So that was another reason.
So what's the name?
Tesla.
Oh, it's just Tesla.
Yeah,
Okay. It's
yeah.
not Nikola. I wasn't
No,
sure.
no, no, no,
If I
no.
went, I don't know if he
Tesla,
went
just Tesla.
underground or what you
Yeah.
did. So
But
do you drive
everyone
one?
thinks it's I don't know.
Okay.
That would have been cool having my Tesla in a Tesla, but
Yeah.
no. Everyone thinks my dog Tesla is named after like Elon Musk's Tesla, but no,
Right.
it's a
No.
Nikola Tesla.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, so those that are wondering, you see him walking the dog around the city. That's what's up.
exactly.
Listen, that's it, man. Actually,
Awesome.
no. Books or movies?
Ooh, that's tough.
You can do
Books,
both.
man, I don't know.
Have you
Um,
read something or watched something recently that's still in the back of your brain? Like, have you gone to Odyssey or I heard the Stop Spider-Man's dope. I watch anything that's
I've
for a
heard
12-year
Spider-Man's
old or
great.
under, but
No, I love it. My fiance and I, we love watching shows over movies.
what do we got?
Currently
Below
watching.
Deck? Below Deck?
Is that a show?
It's the reality show about the cruise ship or whatever. Like they booked the my wife loves it. Never mind. Yeah.
Was that Love Overboard you're talking about?
Nah, Love Overboard's
Oh,
the relationship one. So this is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
basically it's like it's people rent super yachts for like 4 or 5 days and a whole bunch of like rich people come on the super yacht
Okay.
and they take them out into like the Mediterranean or wherever. But it's all about like the people that work on the boat, right? The people
Oh,
hook up and the drama and trying to get
gotcha.
along and
That's
work together as
interesting.
teams. Yeah, for the reality shows she watches, this one's pretty bearable. Yeah,
You know
it's pretty
what?
bearable.
My fiance and I will enjoy a reality show because
Mm.
it's just something you could put on. You don't have to think about and you can
Shut the brain.
laugh, right? So,
That's my
but
wife's
right
theory
now,
too, right? Yeah.
yeah, right
Yeah.
now we're watching Person of Interest. Great
Okay.
show. And then I'll just shout out my own book,
Yeah,
or
yeah, for sure.
children's coloring interactive book. You can get it
Yeah.
on my website.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
40yearplan.ca.
what's the name of the book?
It's called Shoot for the Stars.
There you go.
Yeah,
Love it. Make
yeah.
sure everybody gets a copy. Who
There
else?
we go.
Kayla Alexander. Do you know who that is?
Absolutely.
Playing
I
now,
played
yeah.
with her brother Kyle
Yeah.
Alexander,
Oh,
who's had a
dope.
great
Yeah.
career so far too.
Yeah. She's the best. She wrote a book too, man. So I love
That's
it, man.
awesome. Awesome.
Listen, we would appreciate your time. I know it's been a busy time for you. Like you've mentioned in the show, lots on your plate and lots of moving parts and things going on. So we do appreciate it. Best of luck to
Appreciate you
you
having me.
and the team. Yeah.
Thank you.
As we wrap it up here, we always like to give you the last thoughts, reflections, or ideas before we go. And the pressure is on to say something profound. No, I'm just kidding. But we'll leave the floor with you before we wrap it up, my guy. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, Aaron, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I know we had to pivot, we had to reschedule because there are a lot of crazy stuff and moving parts going on right now with the
You got no idea,
CEBL
bro.
season. But
Imagine
again,
some
thank you.
imagine some 81-year-old coach trying to be, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, true.
you ever meet Steve Konchelski?
Yeah, man. Coach K.
Yeah,
He was with Canada Basketball when I was there.
so we did a full episode and something happened with his audio. We had to repeat the and like just trying to get
Oh,
his time
shoot.
for you know what I mean? So
Yeah, but he's a legend, man. One of the best coaches out
absolutely.
there. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you were able to reschedule that
I
one.
just didn't
But
want you to feel bad because it happens. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, don't worry.
we shifted within like a week and a half. That's usually
Wow.
it's 6 more months, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
someone back. So
No,
yeah,
that's awesome.
keep
That's
going.
awesome. Yeah, I just want to say again, thank you so much. I'll leave you again. I know I mentioned this throughout the podcast, but it's my favorite quote. Your older self is counting on you, right? Continue to, take care of your bodies, your minds, your just overall self, because, in the future, whatever you do now will either help or hinder that future self of yours. So that's something I leave with all young people I kind of connect with, but also with it can be applied to anyone. So I'll leave you with that.
Love it, man. What a great
Awesome.
episode. So many great takeaways about just adversity, life, working hard, taking what comes to you and making something from it. This, like we said, it'll be game 2 when this episode comes out on the Saturday. So make sure you
Mhm.
get out, support the CEBL, turn the TV on, watch the
Yep.
games, find a team to cheer for. We'll see how the matchup goes. And hopefully, sometime either Saturday or Sunday, you guys will be hanging a banner. But you never know. Best of luck to you. Keep in touch. Let me
Appreciate you.
know.
Absolutely.
Let me know when the clinic or whatever's coming out
Comes
this
out west,
way. I
100%.
got a
I'll be hitting you up first.
I got a gym for you, and we can make it
Awesome.
happen. Anything to help impact the youth is I'm on board for. So what a great
Amazing.
episode 189. Continued success.
Thank you
Thank you
so
to
much.
our
Same with you.
listeners, our sponsors, and we'll see you on the next one.